Hi, I'm Keith Ghostland.
I'm Linda Quinlan.
I'm Ann Charles. Welcome to All Things LGBTQ. It is July 8th. We are taping at Orca Media Studio in unceded Indigenous land. And before we begin, I'd like to again register my outrage at the genocide in Gaza. It's getting worse every day. People in food lines are being fired on. Shelters are being bombed. It's relentless, it's unconscionable, and the United States is deeply complicit. Unacceptable.
And he's here today on Yahoo.
Yes, he's playing Wag the Dog at the White House.
Yeah.
Enough about that.
Moving on. Now, the trivia question. And the trivia question is for Linda. And as soon as I start it, you're going to know why. July is Disability Pride Month. So I went out and looked for a notable member of our LGBTQ plus 2S communities that was identified as, at some point in their life, having lived with a disability. This person was the first African American to serve in the Texas Senate and the first African American woman from a southern state to serve in Congress. And Linda's sitting there giggling because on previous trivias, it might have been her answer regardless of who the question was.
Yeah.
So looking at the correct camera, looking at events, Rainbow Umbrella Women's Discussion Group.
Yep.
Talking about Masha Gessen next time.
Very good. Book Discussion Group.
Yes, still going.
Cinema Love
Ooh.
by Zhao Ming Tang.
And you've both read it this time?
Oh, we just
We just started.
Okay. Fox Market. Now, there's a distinction here to be made. There's Fox Market and Foxy's.
Right.
There is Livy's Trivia's night that is happening at both locations.
Huh.
The previous one, which was Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yeah.
didn't happen.
Why?
But well, it has. I'm not sure why,
Okay.
but they said it is finally going to happen. It's on Wednesday, July 23rd, 6 to 8 p.m., but no specific theme. 5 categories of fun.
I love trivia.
Teams of any sign. I know. And then on Saturday, July 19th at Foxy's will be trivia night from 8 to 10 p.m., and the winning team will receive a $50 gift certificate. So, and also Friday, July 25th, 7 to 9 p.m. is Queer Poetry Night.
All right.
Linda, they're still waiting.
You know what, though, with trivia, you really have to get, like, different groups of ages.
Well, that's why they said that 5 different categories, and so hopefully you would balance out in there. Foxy's is also hosting, and this is totally out of character, but I'm glad they're doing it, a death cafe.
I heard about that.
They're inviting 2 funeral directors to come and talk about the whole process. Let's demystify it. Let me, answer your questions, help you to be aware
I've been to them.
all of the decisions, the process that happens. Thursday, July 24th, 3 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Well, in August, maybe I'm thinking of inviting, I know 2 death doulas, and I was thinking of maybe having an interview show and talking to them.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. I'll be looking for it. Okay, a reminder, the Vermont Queer Craft Fair, Saturday, August 2nd at the Mill Hill in Websterville. And some people may have been invited to come and have a remote camera and wander around and do on-the-spot interviews.
Isn't that nice?
So,
I
and
had my training yesterday.
oh, very good. So, Queer Reads Burlington Pride Center, last Sunday of each month from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. So the next one will be July 27th. They're reading Disability Intimacy, edited by Alice Wong. And then just a reminder that Rutland County Pride Center, they have their Fridays from 8 to noon queer affinity workspace.
Okay.
It's set up so that you can go in, you're connected to Wi-Fi, there's resources. If you want to collaborate with other people, there are other queer identified organizations, individuals in there using the space.
Good.
So it's an incredible use of the space, and it helps us to support, our own endeavors. So we can go a little further. And we will put up Rainbow Ridge, their listing of events, so that, if there is something they're doing that is of interest to you, go check them out.
All right.
And with that, are you going to tell me good things this week?
No,
I didn't think so,
no.
because I was looking at what I saw and it didn't make me smile.
No, it's not a happy time in America right now.
Yeah.
And the Education Department is preparing to overhaul public service loan forgiveness program that would strip the benefit from organizations involved in illegal activities and allow the U.S. Education Secretary to decide which group should lose eligibility. A draft proposal released by the department includes definitions of illegal activities as immigrants, terrorism, and transgender issues. So,
Oh my.
I know.
We were wondering when transgender was going to become illegal, and I think we just got our answer.
Yeah, it's getting there.
In school, anyway.
Yeah.
In the woods of a conservative western Maryland town of fewer than 4,000 people is an unlikely landmark of state LGBTQ history, but the lodge, a Boonesboro watering hole that resembles a log cabin, is Maryland's oldest rural gay bar. And it's been there for about 4 decades. The Washington County venue has offered safety, escape, and community to queer people far from large liberal cities. Starting Friday night, the lodge will close out Pride Month with one of its biggest parties of the year, a weekend of dancing, drinking, and drag in celebration of Frederick Pride, held about 20 miles away from the area's largest city.
Very nice.
So that's good. And in 2020, the state of Virginia, banned the practice of conversion therapy. But on Monday, a county judge ruled the ban violates the Virginia Constitution and Religious Freedom Restoration Act, allowing the therapy to start once more again. The conversion therapy ban, which can be seen in Virginia, was overturned on June 30th as a result of 2 Christian counselors who argued that their and all Virginia parents' constitutional right to freedom of religion has been encroached upon when the state legislature passed the ban.
Did it say who was arguing the case? Because, and the reason I ask, and as I'll be reporting later, I'm wondering this is a deliberate effort to try and get this up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Oh, I'm sure.
So on the religious freedom provision.
Restoration Act.
Sounds
Exactly.
like it.
And is this the Alliance Defending Freedom or the Heritage
I didn't
Foundation
see.
or one of those?
Yeah, I'm
mean,
sure it is.
Because I'm sure that we're going to see more of these.
It's usually the
Alliance.
bad players
Yep.
that are involved one way or another. On Sunday night, following an annual New York Pride March, 2 girls were shot in Sheridan Square, feet away from the historic Stonewall. According to the New York police report, the 2 girls aged 16 and 17 were shot around 10:15 p.m. as Pride festivities began to wind down. The 16-year-old was struck in the hand, and according to police sources, she's said to be in critical condition, while the 17-year-old...
Struck in the hand in critical condition?
Oh, in the head, sorry. Missed that one. It was shot in the head, is
Yeah.
in critical condition, while the 17-year-old was said to be in stable condition.
Did they know anything about it? Because when we watched
They said
the
no,
USA,
they didn't really know anything about, they have no suspects or...
Right.
And they're looking at cameras in the area, of course, and all of that, but no, there's nothing yet. And it seems like not everyone is welcome in Idaho. Are you surprised?
We'll be talking more about them.
Yeah. As the state attorney general ordered schools to prohibit signs that read, "Everyone is welcome here." Under a new state law, which went into effect July 1st, it bans the display of banners or flags in K through 12 classrooms that represent political, religious, or ideological views, including, but not limited to, political parties, race, gender, sexual orientation, or political ideologies. Republican Raul Labrador issued guidance on how schools should apply this law, determining that the policy applies even to vague messages promoting kindness.
No kindness.
No
in Idaho.
kindness.
It's Idaho.
He specifically read for signs hung by Sarah Inama, a sixth-grade history teacher at Lewis and Clark Middle School, who went viral in March after she revealed that Ada School District Administration ordered her to remove signs in her classroom that read, "In this room, everyone is welcome."
Oh my gosh.
I think even the potatoes are going to leave.
So you can't even have "everyone is welcome" here.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's
What
really
does that say?
outrageous,
Yeah.
isn't it?
As political forces, including the country's president, take aim at transgender Americans, two black trans leaders in Chicago said they are not. They are only resisting. They are building. Commissioner Precious Brady Davis, who made history in 2024 as the first black openly transgender woman elected to public office in Cook County, and Shannon Lynn Parker, CEO of Brace-Based Alliance, are confronting a national moment marked by cruelty, disinformation, and legislative assault. In candid interviews, both described their work not as a survival, but as leadership grounded in service, community, and defiance of erasure. And here is their picture. Okay, and then I'll do this story here. New York police continue to search for three men suspected of beating a woman in Queens, while shouting anti-LGBTQ slurs. Three male suspects remain at large. The victim was in stable condition after the attack. So I have more good news, Ann, but I think we'll move over to your good news.
Well, I've arranged it so that my good news surrounds some
bad.
unpleasantness in the middle of each continent. Let's start with the largest ever human pride flag, created by thousands of LGBTQ plus activists in Mexico. Let's look at a picture of this. It's incredible, really. In celebration of Pride, more than 5,000 LGBTQ activists and allies gathered in Mexico City's Zocalo Public Square to form what is believed to be the world's largest human LGBTQ flag.
Oh.
As rain showered down, participants held up colorful umbrellas in their matching colored T-shirts to create the pride flag formation.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Mexico City Mayor, who was in the formation, Clara Brugada, said during the event, "Mexico is and will continue to be the city of rights and freedoms. This monumental image we draw with our bodies and colors will be a powerful message to the country and to the world. Mexico City is the capital of pride, diversity, peace, and transformation." This show of solidarity, which lasted 2 hours, was organized by Mexico City's government, and it's the largest event of its kind in Mexican history. Shots of the formation were captured by drone, and I think that's what you saw, with images and videos going viral. Many expressed their joy at seeing such unity in the city. One comment under a video of the display read, "I will forever be proud to be a Mexican." Mexico City continues to lead the fight for LGBTQ plus rights in Mexico. In 2009, it became the first city in Latin America to legalize same-sex marriage, although I count it as North America. Then in 2020, it achieved another milestone in becoming the first jurisdiction in Mexico to outlaw the harmful practice of conversion therapy. They should listen to Virginia, should take heed. Last year, in a historical moment, Claudia Sheinbaum became the first woman to be elected president of Mexico. She's also the first Jewish president of Mexico, and she expressed a want to combat gender-based violence and improve rights for LGBTQ plus people. This Pride March took place on Saturday, the 28th of June. Isn't that cool or what?
Isn't the president of Mexico also a woman?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Oh, I
Claudia
thought she meant the city.
No, the city, the mayor is a woman.
Yeah, and also
the president,
right, okay.
Who is an ally.
Okay.
Okay, now this is sort of a colorful picture. Let's go to Australia, and I'd like to show you a picture of Australian hockey stars wearing rainbow socks to support a gay teammate.
Right.
They're the members of Australia's national field hockey team, and they're called the Kookaburras, which I looked up because remember that old song, Kookaburra sits in the old oak tree. Anyway, they're birds.
Yeah, okay.
So the Kookaburras, this midfielder named Davis Atkin came out and he said last year was a pretty dark place. Now he's played for the Kookaburras 20 times, including a recent win over England on Saturday. The photo of the team posted on Instagram revealed them in the socks. He told Hockey Australia, "I said to the boys this morning that I really appreciate everyone being as inclusive as they are, and this was as simple as wearing socks. It paves the way for other people to follow that journey. As a high-performance athlete, if I had grown up and seen my heroes run out in rainbow socks, that would have been immense, showing me that people at the top level are like me."
That's great.
He's 24. He posed with the flag, a pride flag around his shoulders also. Now, one more delightful story. Now I'm going to Europe, and thank Linda for this particular story. I'd like to show you a picture now of two male, well, actually, it's a female, it's a chick, a vulture chick, who was raised and hatched by two male vultures in a long-standing relationship. They become parents after successfully hatching an egg. A gay vulture couple has hatched a baby chick at the Dutch Zoo, marking a momentous milestone for the lovebirds that had been trying to start a family for months, their caretaker said Thursday. They're a pair of male griffon vultures in Amsterdam. They took in an abandoned egg, and it's rare in the bird world for two males to successfully hatch an egg, and it's the first time this has happened at the Artis Zoo, is the answer.
There you go.
It's a beautiful story, Van Toll said. He's the caretaker. They proved they can. Two dads, together for years, have been making and building nests since January. However, neither could produce an egg. Only female vultures can do that, apparently. Their caretakers thought it was a pity because the two birds appeared to be a really strong couple. That's why zookeepers, there was an abandoned egg.
Right.
The zookeepers gave it to them. We put our heads together and we thought this was the ultimate chance for our male couple to fertilize an egg. They have the perfect opportunity to raise a chick. It's risky and a bit nerve-wracking because you don't have any promises that they would understand how to raise a chick.
But they did.
But they did. So they put the egg in the nest in May, and the zookeeper and his colleague climbed up to the nest and were stunned. I saw this little moving baby chick, adding that he signaled for another caretaker to come and watch the young family in action. It was a special moment. We fell into each other's arms, the caretakers did, which we never do. We just couldn't believe it. So homosexual relationships in the animal kingdom are very widespread, as we know. There's so much to learn about that. There are 1,500 species of animals known to form same-sex couples. Still, it's rare that for gay bird couples to find an unintended egg and then hatch it. Good news, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aren't penguins birds?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe they're I'll look it up.
All right.
But now let's go to Ireland, where I have a clip of a film called Handsome Devil. Ned and Connor, this is another sports story, sort of. Ned and Connor are forced to share a bedroom at their boarding school.
Whoa.
The loner and star athlete at this rugby-mad school form an unlikely friendship until it's tested by the authorities. So let's look at a clip now of Handsome Devil.
We all have one thing we're ashamed of. The memory of one moment so embarrassing. I was in boarding school, in the middle of nowhere. Everyone at Woodhill College was obsessed with rugby. And I didn't hate rugby, but what happened if you didn't love it? I was persecuted daily.
Press fast forward, press rewind. Either way, I just don't wanna be here right now.
That's the guy who changed everything.
Reveal to me who you are, if you dare.
Everyone, this is Connor.
I can't share with a guy like him.
You were wondering if there's another room you could sleep in. Well, what's wrong with the room that you already have?
No way you can make him feel welcome, no?
Yeah, you see, he's a rugby player, so believe me, my friendship would be a hindrance.
It's quite a persecution complex you got going on there.
Thank you. How do you know, Court?
I can't like music, you know. We're not all the same.
Despite my best intentions, I began to feel like I fit in.
You're spending a lot of time with the wrong kind of people.
Encouraging Connor Masters to be a singer 1 week before the semi-final of the Senior Cup.
Modern life is rubbish.
Hear that?
I want to go see my friend.
He is not your friend.
We all have one thing we're ashamed of. One moment so embarrassing, we don't think we'll ever get over it.
Connor's gone missing.
You spend your whole life being someone else. Who's gonna be you?
Reveal to them who you are, if you dare.
Sounds good.
Well, I do like rugby.
Well, good. This is it's an Irish film put out in 2016. You can see it on Amazon Prime, Peacock, and Tubi.
Peacock. Okay, we have to move on now.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to start in a less than pleasant place. Because of the recent federal cutbacks, HIV/AIDS program, CDC, Institute of Health, the $33 million allotment for the suicide prevention hotline for our communities is no longer there. And the estimate was there were over 500,000 calls into the hotline last year. So that is going to be a significant impact. And it goes back to the interview with Kel of it's no longer a passive process here. So I had alluded on our last show that there might have been an unexpected resignation in our House of Representatives. Representative Mari Curtis, Addison 4, which is Bristol, who is one of the out members of our legislature, submitted her resignation, and on the 4th of July, she moved to Nova Scotia. And what she cited was the hostile environment created by the current federal regime. She has been getting death threats.
Oh,
She can no longer afford to live here, and she works in healthcare, and said that because of scheduling and how we deliver healthcare, she couldn't get the necessary number of hours to support her living situation. What's interesting, and friends of mine who work in the healthcare industry had already shared this with me, with all of the things that other countries saw that our federal regime was doing to decimate our healthcare infrastructure, they're offering reciprocity for our healthcare providers. If you are a nurse, nurse practitioner, doctor, if you have a license for healthcare here in the US, they will accept it on face value. You do not have to go through boards exams or relicensing, and Canada is only one of the countries that is offering this. So as bad as our healthcare is, it may become more questionable. And Maury did, in fact, serve on the House Health and Welfare Committee. So she was acutely aware of it. So
Too bad they couldn't raise the salaries of the legislators.
I think they only get like
I know, it's
$3,000 a year.
peanuts.
well, and there's no benefits, like there's no health care. So
I
you
know.
have to have a job that will allow you to leave to go serve in the legislature and also provide you for benefits. But
That's almost, because then you only get people who are rich or people who are old.
wait for the interview with Jill, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So there was a fun event that happened in Weybridge, and it was sponsored by the Henry Sheldon Museum, Vermont Division for Historic Preservation, Vermont Humanities, and the town of Weybridge. They put up a new roadside marker recognizing Charity Bryant and Sylvia Drake. Lesbian couple, late 1800s. They were together 44 years, and the town of Weybridge recognized them as a married couple, and they are in fact buried together, same headstone in the Weybridge Town Cemetery, and the town marker is right outside the cemetery.
Nice.
So there we go. So now we're going to spend some time, and before I forget, Vermont's cartoonist laureate, I didn't know we had one, Tilly Walden, is actually doing a graphic novel about Charity and Sylvia. So I
cool.
keep looking for the announcement, but
That's very cool.
so we're going to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court. And previously we had reported on this Kermesse decision that upheld a state's ability to ban gender affirmation for minors. Well, they've now done another decision, Mahmoud v. Taylor, and this is coming out of Maryland. And what the Supreme Court has done is they have upheld a parent's right to step in and object on religious grounds to curriculum and books that include an LGBTQ plus theme to be used in public schools. The original argument that was presented, and I need to go back and see if I can tease it out of the final decision, the parents who were identified as being Christian and Muslim in this case said that they thought they should be able to totally object based upon their religious beliefs to curriculum content. And in the past, this has included issues such as divorce, interfaith couples, immodest dress, evolution, pacifism, magic, women achieving things outside of the home, and false views of death.
Oh my
God.
So the Supreme Court seems to be posed to make major shifts in how the court system and how we actually intrude on social values. And they've taken up 2 more cases that they will
We know
be.
where this is going.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind this committee was based on the Equal Protection Clause 14th Amendment. And they really didn't touch that, but they sort of skirted around it. And they said that they didn't view a state's ban on gender affirmation for a minor who identified as transgender as violating that clause. But what that also sets up for maybe the next 2 cases they're taking up, Little v. Heckox, West Virginia v. BPJ. These are both the Idaho and West Virginia laws banning transgender women from competing at a high school, collegiate, or Olympic level. They're going after Title IX. And if you remember, there was a Supreme Court case that established the precedent that sexual orientation and gender identity are included in the definition of sex, which is what Title IX protects.
Right.
So that, because the other we were looking at was Title VII, public schools, employment, whatever. Title IX specifically identifies sexual orientation, gender identity is included in sex because you can't determine orientation or identity without including gender. Duh. So this looks as though it is being set up as a direct challenge, and what we have already seen with the Dobbs decision is that the Supreme Court is more than willing to overturn court precedent, societal norms, for the favor of a conservative viewpoint.
Yep.
So we will be following it. And in both instances, the case that came about was there was a transgender athlete that challenged those 2 states' ban on their being able to compete, and a lower court said, I think there might be an equal protection issue here, and they stayed the enforcement, which allowed the athletes to compete.
Right.
So, and sort of dovetailing off from that, in North Carolina, the governor has vetoed a whole series of anti-trans bills saying, no, this is not who we are, this is not equity.
Yeah, he'll be overridden by the,
Well,
maybe.
looking at the analysis, the majorities in both chambers is slim enough that they don't have a veto-proof majority just walking in. They're going to need to get some assistance to get it over the line. What I had missed before is that in Maine, and this was reported by Equality Maine, they defeated 8 anti-trans bills during the last session. And it was a whole range of things. And they said that all of their polling and looking at the attendance at the public hearings and the people who testified, Maine, by a margin of 6-1, supports their transgender citizens, which we may have to jump over New Hampshire to get there, but Vermont and Maine,
You can go over the mountains here. Go over to Maine.
but you have to go through New Hampshire to get there. There's a little piece. No, trust me, I've made that trip
Okay.
many times.
Okay.
Okay, and the last, and this is a fun, there's going to be an open Senate seat in New Hampshire. And there may be a chance for them to sort of step up and
You think?
show
Right.
themselves pride, because Chris Pappas, who is their out representative to the U.S. Congress, has already announced he's running for what will become the vacant Senate seat. So if you get an email saying, please help donate, he's trying to raise the sort of grassroots funding to get the campaign going.
Yes.
So with that,
All right, we'll move on to the,
you're going to say nice things though, right?
yes, oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, a Florida judge dismissed a case against a 21-year-old trans woman who used a restroom in Florida,
I
remember?
saw that.
Yeah.
In protest of the 2023 law. That happened after state prosecutors failed to properly charge Marcy Reingen of Illinois, who was arrested in March. She notified police and Republican leaders of the legislature of her intent to use the women's restroom at a particular time and date. And police came and arrested her on a trespassing charge. So,
Good for her.
yeah. As Americans crowd highways and airports for summer travel, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has announced a sweeping national initiative that could put rainbow-painted crosswalks and broader debates over how cities express identity and inclusion squarely on the federal spotlight. In a letter on Tuesday, Duffy urged the governors nationwide to comply with safe roads. A new Trump administration program aiming to eliminate distractions from non-freeway arterial roadways. Roads are for safety, not for political messages or artwork, Duffy wrote. So,
I heard today that you're not going to have to take your shoes off.
TSA is considering that, and there's supposed to be an announcement forthcoming. Going back to nothing distracting because these are our highways, what about those billboards?
Yeah, no kidding.
Aren't those distracting?
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
here lies a beating heart, ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
all over, yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Jesus Lives, there's another one. Police in Provincetown, Massachusetts are investigating a potential hate crime after a man was assaulted late Monday night in the LGBTQ plus friendly beach town. The man was attacked between 1 and 2 a.m. by 3 men ages 20 to 30. The Provincetown Police Department said in a statement, the victim told the law enforcement in a follow-up statement that the group exited their vehicle, which has been identified as a black Lexus, while he was walking on the east end of Bradford Street and assaulted him while using homophobic slurs. Even in Provincetown,
Apparently.
Well, it's like Mari was saying, even though she lived in Addison County here in Vermont, the climate that is coming out of our federal government is such that it is permeating everything.
yep. A Catholic school in Louisiana fired a gay teacher after his late husband's obituary listed him as a spouse. Mark Richards said at St. Francis Xavier, and he was fired for a dead spouse.
That gay spouse.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh. The U.S. Supreme Court won't hear the appeal of a teacher who lost her lawsuit against a Massachusetts school district that fired her for homophobic, transphobic, and racist social media posts. Carrie McRae was fired by the Hanover Public Schools in 2021. About a month after she was hired to be a math and business teacher, schools officials discovered the posts, which were made before she worked for the district.
So the Supreme Court hasn't taken it, so
No.
the firing stands.
It'll
Correct.
stand, yeah.
Whatever the lower court ruling was.
Yeah,
Good. Small victories.
I know, huh? In competitive chess, where a clash of queens and bishops usually eclipse cultural warfare, a teenage girl has found herself at the center of Germany's latest front in the debate over transgender women's inclusion. She's American, so
I'm glad you did.
yes. A trans girl made history this month by winning Germany's under-18 girls chess championship. And so they're trying to maybe get rid of her out of this game, even though the pursuits were brain power, not physical power. They would like to get rid of her and not let her
awful.
play. Okay. Pride Month comes to a close. The family of Audrey Jose Hernandez Romero is speaking up on Democracy Now!, pleading for proof of life as the 31-year-old Venezuelan asylum seeker remains missing more than 100 days after being sent to El Salvador in the Trump-era order. After passing a credible fear interview, he was deported after showing up for his appointment at a U.S. government gave him. The Trump administration invoked the Alien Enemies Act, previously used to incarcerate Japanese Americans during World War II. Officials accused him of gang ties based on crown tattoos above the names of his parents. Though his attorneys say he has no criminal record, they still am not doing anything, and nobody
Right.
can find him, so.
And that's happening more often. People are showing up for what they are told they need to do in order to remain in the country, and they get taken into custody.
I just read it, it wasn't a gay thing, but that somebody came from, was it Africa? To visit his grandson's graduation. He went out the door and they've never seen him again.
No, I hadn't heard that.
I almost wore my migrant justice T-shirt because of what's going on in Vermont.
They think maybe ICE got him, but we don't know. Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News personality, accused reporters of cheering against Trump. Oh. Dismissed intelligence leaks as politically motivated and lashed out at the question about gender representation in the military as little games that the Democrats play. The briefing grew more tense when a reporter asked why Herzog's early praise emphasized boys in bombers without mentioning women pilots. At least one woman flew one of the combat missions the government has acknowledged. Aren't you excited about that? And then there was a a hetero awesome festival
I missed this one.
in Boise, Idaho.
Idaho
Oh.
again,
Yeah.
3
I
times.
tell you, the potatoes are leaving.
Idaho has distinguished itself, and not in a good way.
Exactly.
And so the organizer and a local podcaster was the host, bragged about the city's lack of black residents. Mark Fitzpatrick, owner of the Old State Salon, organized the event on June 20th, and about, 20 people showed up.
Oh, well, that's good. At least it wasn't well attended.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Oh,
Unbelievable.
my God. And quickly, at the airport in Chicago, they're looking to put in a gay bar.
Are you sure it's Chicago and not Atlanta?
It says Chicago restaurant plans the city soon will be home to the country's first airport gay bar.
Oh, I thought it was Atlanta. That's what I read.
It is. No, it says Chicago. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, yeah, he's from Chicago. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I want to go to Atlanta Airport.
The
for that
Chicago
reason.
bar in Atlanta.
Yeah.
A Chicago owner of the gay bar in the Atlanta airport.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Okay. And then lastly, on Thursday, July 3rd, preacher Justin Zong shared a post on the official Facebook page for the Shore Foundation Baptist Church. You know this is going to be good. In Indianapolis, stating he will not apologize for preaching of the Word of God. I will not apologize for stating facts. I will not negotiate with terrorists, among whom the LGBTHIV crowd is full of domestic terrorists.
Oh my gosh.
Zong wrote during a sermon entitled Pray the Gay Away. Member Stephen Falco said, You ought to blow yourself in the back of the head. You're so disgusting.
Nice.
Nice. So I'm ending on a happy note.
Well, I'd like to return to the birds.
Okay.
And I don't know if I misspoke, but homosexual relationships within the animal kingdom are very widespread.
Right. You
Right.
said that.
Yeah, so, and penguins are among the animal kingdom, they're birds.
Yes, that's what I,
Questioned.
yeah.
Okay, well, we clarified
It's,
that.
so, you know, if it's unusual in the bird population, well, it's not so unusual with penguins.
Moving on.
All right.
All right, let's go, stay in Europe for a lovely story. Around 200,000 march in Budapest Pride event in defiance of Hungary's
That was beautiful.
ban. Let's look at a picture of these marchers.
It's incredible.
And this is especially striking because, as we know, Viktor Orban has banned marches and all demonstrations of LGBTQ pride. And so this is an amazing act of defiance. The
Yep.
mayor of Budapest is standing with the protesters and also sort of conflated this march a little bit with an anti-Orban protest. And so his popularity is tanking, which is lovely
Good.
news.
Maybe he'll run, maybe the mayor will run for,
Which just happened in Warsaw, in Poland,
yeah,
and he lost, but it was a squeaker.
yeah.
The other thing is the 70 members of Parliament who pledged, of the European Parliament who pledged to march did. So that pretty much covers that. They warned the mayor, more than 70 members. Okay. Now, here's some unpleasantness. The UK Parliament announces the toilet ban at Westminster. And remember last time I talked about the toilet ban at Holroyd in Scotland. And the UK is going right along with that, based on this spurious Supreme Court decision that trans women aren't women. So visitors can only use the restroom of their biological sex. And then there was a little dust-up at Portcullis House, which is a government building. Robin Moira White was questioned by gender-critical campaigners Kate Harris and Heather Binning. Harris is co-founder of the LGB Alliance and Binning is director of the Women's Rights Network. Apparently, Robin Moira White, three of them were going to this Women and Equalities Committee hearing, and Robin White used the restroom in conformance with her gender identity, and these two gender critical members of the committee kicked up a big stink. They said, White said she'd been effectively ambushed. The manager was called by security staff who said members of the gender critical movement within Parliament said that trans people couldn't use the bathroom. Then the gender critical people were escorted out of the area, and the House of Commons apologized to the two gender critical transphobes. A positive note, let's look at a picture of two gay influencers who are sharing a passionate kiss in front of anti-LGBTQ protesters at London Pride. Here they are, influencers Nick Toneda and Anthony Cushion. Everybody around, except the protesters, everyone else around cheered. One last good story from Europe, Norwegian royal comes out publicly as she attends Oslo Pride with her mother. So here's a picture of Maud Angelica Ben, who attended Oslo Pride with her mother, Frances Martha Louise of Norway. And they're posing, the other person there is the mother's husband, Jurek Verrett, but he's not pictured. Princess Martha Louise of Norway is in the royal line. 22-year-old Maud is her daughter, and also the daughter of the first husband, Louise's first husband, who died by suicide in 2019 at the age of 47. She's the granddaughter of King Harold V, although she's not in the royal line of succession. This makes her, she came out as bisexual. You can see she's posing with flags. Her declaration makes her the first member of the Norwegian royal family to publicly come out. And the mother wrote a lengthy caption in support. Now I have news from Asia, which is mixed. Let's start with a great one. An Indian court rules trans women are women and legally entitled to recognition. Good for them.
They're better on trans issues than
Yeah.
LGBTQ, I mean, gay
Right.
and lesbian issues in India for some reason.
However, they've been under mounting pressure, the Indian government, to moderate its laws and policies on LGBTQ rights.
Exactly.
Same-sex marriage is still illegal, despite growing support for the legislation. Prime Minister Modi's government has previously labeled same-sex marriage elitist, that a viewpoint that seriously affects the interest of every citizen. An affidavit establishing the government's views on same-sex unions in 2023 proclaimed that marriage was valid only between biological males and females, and that this definition was socially, culturally, and legally ingrained into the very idea and concept of marriage, and ought not to be disturbed or diluted by judicial interpretation. So the culture is moving forward, but the government is holding them back.
That's a conservative government too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, now we have some bad news. 75 people were arrested in Indonesia after a police raid on a gay party, which they called it. Cops conducted the raid on a gathering the day before, June 23rd, which in a city near Jakarta. Police described the raid as a gay party with 74 men and 1 woman were arrested. The local police chief said the raid was conducted after public reports of gay activities at the location. In Indonesia, this is another tricky thing. Indonesia, homosexuality is not illegal at the national level, but faces significant legal and social challenge. You know, they have the Aceh province where being gay is punishable by death. So these people who are arrested could face terms of up to 15 years under a pornography law.
Wow.
It does not specifically target homosexuality, but ambiguous wording means that it can target material that contravenes the norms of community morality, and it's exploited to persecute LGBTQ people. According to Amnesty International Indonesia, police detained 9 people following a raid on a gay sex party at a hotel in South Jakarta on the 24th of May, while 56 individuals were detained for participating in a gay party in a raid on a different hotel in South Jakarta in February.
We need to wrap up now.
All right, another bad thing. Turkish police arrest more than 50 people before a banned Istanbul Pride Parade. And again, the culture is moving forward, but Viktor Erdogan's right-wing government is opposing it. And finally, a good story. I'd like to show you a picture of the National Museum of the Philippines celebrating Pride. They had all kinds of activities, a poetry reading.
That's it.
All right.
So
Sorry.
July is Disability Pride Month. Linda's ready here.
I can't remember.
I remember.
Okay, the first African American to
it
serve
is,
in the
but-
Texas Senate. first African-American woman from a southern state to serve in Congress, and that was in 1973, and it might have been...
Barbara Jordan.
Jordan,
Absolutely.
yes.
She is noted for voting rights, minimum wage laws, civil rights. She was on the House Judiciary Committee during the Watergate hearings.
Yes.
And in 1976, the Democratic Party asked her to be the keynote speaker at their convention.
I remember that speech.
She lived with multiple sclerosis, which a lot of people didn't know. She died January 17th, 1996. She was survived by her partner, Nancy Earl. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And with that,
Remember every single day when you're out doing your garden or having lunch with friends to save time, to resist.
Resist.